You know, when you hear the word contract, you probably picture a stack of papers, right? Lots of signatures, formal handshakes. But what if I told you that you're making contracts all the time, deals that have real legal weight without even realizing it? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on these hidden contracts, from those casual what-if promises to the surprising times the law itself steps in and creates a deal for you, even when you didn't agree to a thing.
So, let me ask you this. Have you ever made a deal that depended on a what-if? I'm willing to bet the answer is yes. A big yes. We do it constantly, it's just how we navigate life.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Hey, I'll totally buy that concert ticket from you if I can get the day off work. Or, yeah, I can help you move if it doesn't rain on Saturday. It's this super common if-then thing we do. But what you might not know is that this simple little structure actually has a formal legal name and its own set of rules.
And that brings us to Act 1 of our story, the what-if contract. That's right, there's a name for it. The law calls this a contingent contract, and it's the official term for all those what-if promises we just talked about.
Okay, so here's the official definition from the Indian Contract Act. It says it's a contract to do something or not do something if some other event happens or doesn't happen. Basically, it's a promise that's just waiting. It only activates if a certain future uncertain thing occurs. Think about things like insurance or guarantees. Those are classic examples of this.
So what really makes one of these things tick? What's its DNA? Well, there are three key ingredients. First, the whole deal hangs on some future event. Second, that event is what they call collateral. Now, that's just a legal term for saying it's incidental. It's not the main promise, it's the trigger for the promise. And third, and this is crucial, that event has to be totally uncertain. Nobody knows if it's going to happen or not.
Okay, let's make this super clear. Think about fire insurance on your house. It is the perfect example. You pay your premiums every single month, right? But the insurance company's big promise, the one to pay you a huge chunk of money, is just sitting there, dormant. It's contingent. It only kicks in if that uncertain collateral event, a fire, actually happens. See? The contract isn't about the fire itself, it's about the payout in case of a fire.
Now, this is where we need to draw a really important line in the sand. A contingent contract is not the same thing as a bet. Not at all. With your house insurance, you have a real vested interest in your house not burning down. You want to protect it. But with a bet, what the law calls a wagering contract, neither person has any real interest in the thing itself. You're just in it to win or lose the cash. That's a huge difference, and it's why one is a totally valid contract and the other is legally void. It has no power.
Okay, so that's a contract with a condition. That makes sense. But what happens when there's no agreement at all? I mean zero. No offer, no acceptance, nothing. And yet, somehow, one person gets a benefit and another person takes a loss, totally unfairly. What does the law do then?
Well, this is where the law pulls out its fairness safety net. It's a concept called a quasi-contract, and it's basically the legal system's way of stepping in to fix a situation that would just be, well, fundamentally unfair otherwise.
And this whole idea is built on a really simple, powerful principle. No man must grow rich out of another person's loss. It's all about preventing what's called unjust enrichment. The law just won't let someone benefit unfairly at someone else's expense.
So let's be super clear. A quasi-contract is not a real contract at all. There was no agreement, no handshake, no deal. It is an obligation that the law itself imposes on someone to prevent that unjust enrichment we talked about. It's a legal fix that just kind of looks and acts like a contract in the end.
And the law is pretty specific about when this can happen. In fact, it lays out 5 key situations where this fairness safety net kicks in.
All right, let's run through them real quick. Number 1, you provide essentials like food or shelter to someone who can't legally make a contract, say a minor. Number 2, you pay a debt that someone else was supposed to pay, but you had to do it to protect your own interests. 3, you get a benefit from something someone did that was obviously not meant to be a freebie. 4, you find lost property. And 5, you get paid money by mistake or through coercion. In every one of these cases, the law steps in and basically says, nope, you've got to make this right. Let's use a modern example you'll totally get. Imagine a food delivery shows up at your door. It's not yours, it's a mistake. But you're hungry, so you take it in and you eat it. Well, you just benefited from what the law calls a non-gratuitous act, meaning it wasn't a gift. In that moment, a quasi-contract is born, and legally, you're now on the hook to pay for that meal. Or how about this one? You're walking down the street and you find a wallet. Your first thought might be score, but legally, you can't just keep it. The law says you now have a responsibility, like a bailee, someone who holds property for another, to take care of that wallet and make a real effort to find its owner. It's this instant legal obligation that just springs into existence because of the situation you're in.
All right, so we've looked at two really different types of hidden legal agreements. One is based on a condition, an if-then deal, and the other is based on, well, no deal at all. So why does this distinction actually matter? What's the big takeaway?
Let's lay it all out nice and simple. You've got your regular, absolute contract. That's a straightforward promise. Easy. Then you have the contingent contract we talked about. That's a promise based on a condition, but it's still an agreement. And then you have the odd one out, the quasi-contract. There's no agreement needed. It's all about an obligation forced by law to keep things fair.
If you remember one thing, make it this. Contingent contracts are all about planning ahead. They're about timing and conditions. You're building a plan for an uncertain future. Quasi-contracts, on the other hand, are all about cleaning up a mess. They're about fairness and justice. They're the law's reaction to something that's already gone wrong.
So now that you know what to look for, take a second and think about it. How many of these hidden contracts are actually part of your life? From your car insurance to that casual if-then promise you made to a friend last week, you might be surprised just how many there are.